Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining our session this morning. We're going to talk here today about our experiences with introducing a Cloud Center of Excellence, basically help you get the benefits out of cloud after your cloud adoption. I'm on stage here with Marwan from VMware. Myself, Anita already won the prize probably as the guy with the longest function title, but you can basically see me as an enterprise architect working at Fujitsu, helping our customers do cloud adoption. That's in a nutshell what my role is all about. Marwan, please take it from here.
Thank you, Hans. Hi, everyone. Marwan Semaan, calling from Sweden, as I said before when I joined. So I'm Cloud Provider Manager EMEA, and looking forward to this session and looking forward to a lot of questions. So let's go ahead, and then let me see now if I can click here for the next slides. I think I need to do this way. Yes. So I'll start, and then I'll hand over to Hans. So at the end, it's all about the applications. The application is driving, in fact, the cloud technology, or the cloud technology adoption is driven by the application and business demands. This is, I think, how I want to see it. It's on the top of the CEO, CIO agenda to deliver an application portfolio successfully. It's from reliability, security, and in fact differentiation. And not just to mention as well, it's also about digitalization. It's about sustainability, etc. So we can divide the application in two parts. We have the existing applications and the modern applications. Focusing on the existing application, where the majority of the applications are on that, they are the application generating the revenue today, and they are, in most of our customers, the cash cows generating the revenue and bringing the money to the customer. And the key, let's say, actions happening with those existing applications is, in fact, the customers are looking to reducing costs. Security is key. Reliability, and be able to control those through the IT systems and all the ITSM systems as well. The other part, which is the modern apps, is in fact the key thing is differentiation. How the customers are differentiation they're offering, how they are getting the competitive edge. Looking into those two parts, there are in fact fixed pathways, and we have, through statistics, through customer discussions, etc., every customer is on that path, on one or two or three of those paths. So if we look into the existing applications, a lot of our customers are considering now about when they are looking into their applications, do I need to maintain this application? Is this something I want to keep it just virtualized until it's dead? Or should I move this application to a new platform to have, giving the application a longer time to live, increasing security, reliability, and in fact, addressing the market today with all those security, what's happening? There is also something we call hybrid applications. Hybrid applications is if you want to take an application and you don't want to refactor it, because putting an application on a public cloud means refactoring or recoding. But in this case, I don't want to do that. I just want to take the application and extend some special services where I can make my application a bit of, using the word more advanced or sexy, how I want to put it. And this is, in fact, by having a hybrid application to maintain the data, secure the data in on-prem, but also get use of the different clouds as well. The other part is the modern application. So it's about refactoring, recoding the application, taking the application from a traditional VMs into containers. I develop it for the cloud for different reasons. It can be geo-presence. It can be some functionalities or services I need from the cloud, like artificial intelligence or data, big data, etc. And then, of course, the there are some customers, they are looking, okay, there are already SaaS service. Why do I need to reinvent the wheel? I buy it as a SaaS service, and they replace the application with a SaaS service. And all of those, as I said before, it's about the customer journey. So please reach out to us, to Hans, to myself, if you have questions, if you want to drill down into where you are on that journey and what you're trying to do about that, to give you the right guidance on this one. So the market has never been so complex as is today. So today's market is defined by diversity. And I will zoom into each of those in one by one. So looking into the infrastructure, I mean, looking today, we never had so many options of infrastructure. It's on-prem, on customer on-prem, it's off-prem, on Fujitsu data center. Is it in the cloud? Is it a hybrid application, or is it the container refactoring? Is it at the edge, where I want to make sure that the compute power is close to the customer or to the manufacturing, etc.? So there are a lot of complexity. It's not just putting it in the cloud. There are different options into that one. There are also more application options than before. So do I want to put my application in a container? Do I want to keep it as traditional IP? Is it microservices? Is it hybrid IP application? So it's complex, and all of those options are in fact increasing the tense to the IT operations to maintain security. And then more cloud services than ever before. I would say IaaS is a commodity these days. Everyone is offering IaaS, public cloud, Azure, AWS, etc. But it's about differentiating. What do I need to get out of the IaaS? It's not anymore about putting on a VM. Do my application need machine learning? Do my application need artificial intelligence services? So I don't need to build it from scratch. There are different hyperscalers with different strengths. Some hyperscalers are very strong on artificial intelligence. Some are very strong on analytics, some dynamics, etc. So it's all about the application. And then just example by TJ before about this booking or my ticket when I want to check into my airline. It's using, in fact, multiple different clouds and multiple different capabilities from different clouds. So it's quite interesting how we see the world and where we want to get the best of the different clouds. And looking at the management part, and this is where things becoming interesting. And then, of course, this is the frustration by the IT operation, by the team managing it. So when you have those multiple options and those complexity, different clouds, different services, it's also the customers are building specialized teams. They are having specialized skills. Some is very strong on artificial intelligence. Security is becoming different from silo to silo. So the one hyperscaler team are having different policy to compare to the others. The communication is also not really well. And not to forget about the tooling. You have a tool per each of those. It's also creating complexity. Hans will talk a bit more about that in the next slides. But this is, in fact, it's becoming more and more complex. And these are the challenges we see. So multi-cloud is not only a reality anymore. It's in fact a business priority. So 97% of organization adopting multi-cloud strategy. We see some, in fact, of when we did some statistics, we have seen some customers, or the average of customers, are using more than 4 clouds, one primary cloud, but then they have multiple secondary clouds. And this is where, again, I'm saying that depending on your strategies, depending on your priorities, we can help you together with Fujitsu on how we can guide you into the right cloud, into the right strategies as well. So I'll hand over to you, Hans, to go ahead and share more of how Fujitsu supports through the Center of Excellence and to address the challenges.
Yes, thank you, Semaan.
Thank you.
I think it was a very good overview of the trends that we see today in the market. And as Semaan just mentioned, cloud is really a fact of life. All of you are currently using cloud, unless you're a part of those 3% late adopters that don't have a cloud program yet. Now, what we see day to day with our customers is that cloud is not only an opportunity, it creates lots of expectations with our IT departments, and it also comes with some struggles, some challenges to put them into action. So what we see here is that very often you started off with initial pilots doing a small thing in cloud, in public cloud, and then it became many more, and it became a success. And in the end, we have many clouds and many cloud accounts running in parallel for organizations. So that's clearly one challenge that we see popping up a lot. And another one that we see is, as was pointed out by Marwan, we have all the new trends in modernization of software development, delivery mechanisms that are shifting towards DevOps. And that results in a situation where our application landscape becomes much more diversified. We have combinations of classical applications. We have containerized applications running in multiple locations. We have cloud native solutions that are completely built using cloud features and are actually serverless. And these all need to be integrated. That requires changing the organization. So team structure have to be looked at. And we have to combine different IT profiles and business profiles in one team to get all this done. And that basically results in a situation where there are some clear challenges, and they're here on the slide as well. The result of all this is that many customers today have issues with low visibility on where the spend is going. Cloud is completely consumption-based, but also means that it can vary depending on the actual consumption. So that this has some implications on the spend of our customers. That's clearly a challenge. Another one is over-provisioning or inefficient provisioning. Very often the cloud starts with business owners or application developers that take the lead to deploy solutions and services in cloud. They don't have the natural feel that our operational teams have from the past, and our infrastructure teams, to optimize the cloud resources. So very often people are overpaying, not using their licenses to the most efficient way. There are, of course, the concerns about security and compliancy. However, there will be a session on that tomorrow to go a bit more in detail on the cloud journey. I think that's actually a very interesting one, because you basically have two customers, two groups of customers we see in the market. You have one, the biggest customer group, that is basically in the mindset that I want to go to cloud because it's secure, and the other one are a bit hesitant. They don't want to go to cloud because maybe it's not secure. So security is really a factor that determines whether you're in camp A or B. And it's always a topic to look at. Things have to be put at rest, and very often the existing security governance frameworks and processes that are already in place need to be updated to accommodate this new way of working, this much more agile way of working, where different stakeholders can be interfacing your landscape, where in the past we had the castle approach, where everything was very safely tucked away in a data center. Policies need to be reviewed to work with this more open context. Another one that we, and it's a bit linked to both this over provisioning and the security, is the cloud awareness. We also see that there is a need to increase the awareness of what it means to run in cloud in our customers. To sum it all up a bit, we have the quote on the bottom here from Gartner. If you really want to get all the benefits from cloud and make sure you can protect your business and at the same time drive use and innovation, you need to put in place some governance around the cloud. And that's basically the opening slide here. That's where we want to talk about today, to share our approach and how we, from Fujitsu and also from VMware, help our customers achieve that goal. So we have a standard approach to help our customers through this cloud journey. I'm just going to quickly walk you through this slide. It's a busy slide, but it's basically a good one, because the journey is as we already learned from previous slides, something that you are already doing. Everybody is at some location in this journey, so it really helps us understand where exactly we can help and give advice and support. So first of all, we start off with the strategic part, the strategy. As long as you don't know where you're going, it doesn't really matter what choices you made. So if you want to make the right choices, you have to know where you're going. And that's really the first important step to make sure that you map your desired cloud business outcomes onto your personal cloud strategy and the cloud roadmap you're rolling out at your organization. We do this with design thinking methodology to really make it an interactive co-creation fashion to help you put down this roadmap and align business and IT needs in an interactive way. Once we know where we're going, it's always good to know a bit where we are and where we're starting from. That's the assessment plan, and that's was already mentioned, introduced by Marwan. This is all about deciding where do I want to introduce cloud in my landscape, where does it make sense, and which kind of cloud should I be using? Should I be going for IaaS? Should I be going for PaaS? Should I actually replace finally some of these legacy applications by SaaS solutions? That's basically what we do in the assessment plan phase to really do the application portfolio mapping, identifying the different candidates in your landscape that are actually no longer fit for purpose, are a drag in your IT budget, and might be better off being replaced. We can help you identify which solutions are out there in the market in a mature level fashion to introduce. And we can also help you identify where it makes sense to modernize, what should remain on-premise, because of course it's a hybrid world. Not everything goes to public cloud. Some things also will stay on the private cloud. So we can help identify that and build business cases around that. The next step is design and build. Get ready to actually make the jump. Or actually, in most cases, make sure we can increase the maturity of your current cloud landscape and cloud environment. Maybe we don't encounter customers anymore that ask us for build me a greenfield cloud environment. You're already there. So we really have an approach that focuses more on brownfield situations. You already have a cloud environment. You already have a bit of mess here and there. We have an approach to help improve and increase the maturity of that environment that's already there. Make sure it's ready to scale, and make sure it's ready to be integrated, especially in the CI/CD pipeline, because that's one of the biggest challenges we see today. Customers really want to benefit from the cloud flexibility and scalability end-to-end, and then enable it for all development communities in the organization. That requires some attention on how to set up your CI/CD pipelines. We have a library approach at Fujitsu. We offer a full library of artifacts to avoid you have to reinvent the wheel. So if you're in need in a certain ARM template or scripts or other infrastructure as code artifact, we offer that from a library. We support it and maintain it to you to make sure you can avoid reinventing the wheel there. So that's our approach to help you improve the maturity of your cloud landing zone. And once the cloud is there, we talk about two major paths to actually migrate workloads and move them from where they are now to the cloud. One is really the industrialized approach, the migration factory. There we use really very advanced tools like VMware HX to help an industrialized migration process, which is very lightweight and heavily automated to move workloads to the cloud. This is the easy way, let's say, the path of least resistance, but it's also the path which typically results in little benefits. Most benefits can really be achieved if you look for the application transformation, because there you can really change the application behavior or the functionality of the application and making it much more cloud native, modern. So there we talk about containerization of applications, making them or re-architecting them to a microservices architecture and things like that. To really ensure applications you have in your environment that are actually providing differentiating capabilities or innovations can be onboarded onto the cloud capabilities like scalability and agility to benefit your further business strategy execution. And finally, on the right of the slide, we have what I really want to focus on the rest of the presentation here. It's the Cloud Ops and the FinOps part. So this is where we really see at the challenges to make sure all of this is done in an operational way and you keep your budget into place. So that's why we introduced the concept of Cloud Center of Excellence. It's not really ours. It's something that all the big vendors are also positioning, and institutions like Gartner also position this. So in case you're not aware or familiar with the Cloud Center of Excellence, what is it? It's basically a group of experts that we see in the Cloud Center of Excellence, bringing it together to make sure we can have a smooth and efficient cloud adoption in the organization. That requires some enterprise architect expertise to be able to link everything together, make that link to the application landscape evolutions, make the links to organizational design changes that might be required. Of course, there is the cloud expertise. This can be cloud specific if you've chosen Azure or AWS. That expertise is needed. If you're a bit bigger and you really need multiple public clouds, generic cloud expertise is also a requirement. To address the security concerns or make sure we can evaluate whether the security policies are in place, for cloud security expertise is also a key element of the Cloud Center of Excellence. And last but not least, to make sure we tackle the process and people aspects, also adopt and change or change management expertise is really one of the 4 ingredients that you have to put into mix to have an efficient CCoE. So what is it? Is this team, a small team, can be 3 to 5 people that can help you with the overall cloud adoption, the migration, and making sure you have a cloud operating model in place that can work. And it doesn't only focus on the technology parts of cloud, which is typically what most of the talk is about, but really covers also the people and process aspects to make sure that the organization is ready to really have those benefits that the cloud promises to bring. So what does it mean, a cloud operating model? Well, of course, it can mean a lot, but if we break it down to 4 main cloud activities that we always see coming back, it's basically those 4. It's first of all looking at what changes do we need to make on the DevOps part to make sure your development teams reap the benefits from cloud, and we can make sure that the benefits of cloud are available for them to quickly deploy and provision new solutions and applications to the cloud and to your customers. That requires high levels of automation. So that's one area, one key activity that has to be attacked. Another one is FinOps, as we call it, so the operational aspects around the whole financial model, and making sure the cloud adoption does not break your financial objectives, but actually enhances your savings objectives. Then there is the SecOps part, to make sure that everything is put in cloud in a secure fashion, but it's also maintained in a secure fashion. You have all your governance control points in place to make sure you don't introduce any higher levels of risk and security in your environment, but you reduce them. And then finally, what we call the BaseOps, that's really the changes and transformation that's required in your infrastructure and operations teams to make sure you have this cloud-based infrastructure in place that can deliver you the resilient and performant cloud platform that all your other users are expecting. So these are the 4 main activities, and I'll dive into each one of them in a bit more detail. If you have any questions, please interrupt. We have the time to elaborate. So the first big transformation I want to quickly dive into is the DevOps part. DevOps is really the activity to make sure you make true on your promises to the development team to provide them the highly automated self-service platform which they can do end-to-end delivery into production. If we really want to transform into a full DevOps way of working, we have to merge all these worlds together and make sure that the development world, which you see here on the slide on top, which already moved to Agile years ago, is merged and finds a nice way to work together with the InfraOps world, who is now also going more into the direction of Agile working. And they work very nicely in harmony. And as you can see, one of the main components there we need is really a CI/CD tooling and pipeline. That's where we help our customers a lot to help them audit what they have, consult them how they should move on, and help them improve and implement this new way of working, both from a technology point of view as from a change management point of view. So looking at how the full SDLC pipeline works for them, but also looking at how the new requirements are defined, because of course, in the end, your infra team still needs to provision those servers, the storage. It might be packaged in services in other forms, but you still need to capture somehow the requirements, and that's certainly a challenge that a lot of our customers are working or struggling with, because in the agile way of working, the traditional waterfall definition of what is required up front goes away. So the infra guys also have to evolve to be more flexible and be able to scale when needed and deploy when needed, rather than having a predictable description of what they need to deploy. So what you also see here is that this DevOps platform then requires self-service platforms to deploy it on the target public cloud. So you have all the public clouds here. We also have, of course, hybrid environments. So it's where we see VMware coming a lot, back a lot, and we also have a session on that on Friday to talk about how we work with VMware together to building some solutions there. Also very important, this is not just the VMware based or the VM based infrastructure service that we provide here. More and more, there is also clearly the need to go to containers. That's really a very important technology to help bridge the gap here and make sure we have flexibility to merge the DevOps roles onto one single CI/CD pipeline. However, for these containers, we also need platforms, and that's where the VMware Tanzu offering, which is also a session tomorrow, I think, we'll dive into that. VMware Tanzu can really help putting in place Kubernetes capabilities from one single pane of glass to make sure we have this underlying infrastructure available. So that's the DevOps transformation. No questions so far. Okay. Another big one is the FinOps transformation. We already mentioned that a couple of times. This is really where most companies also struggle with once they start adopting cloud in a much broader context. We have this quote here, which I think sums up pretty nicely the fears in many CFOs' mind. If you have a completely OpEx-based spending model without boundaries to resource, which is what public clouds offer you, you basically have a recipe for huge overspending. So this needs to be kept in control. For that, we recommend really having a dedicated approach, looking at cost optimizations really as design principles, which you can apply to the entire life cycle. Looking at clearly defining in the planning phase already what the cost implication would be, then making sure you have everything in place to track the actual utilization and cost monitoring. Make sure we have reports available on that, and then have automated actions in place to make optimization and reductions where needed. I think that's really a very important aspect that we see the CCoE taking the lead on to help our customers make sure they don't forget this, because this is a key driver to get the financial benefits from cloud. As you can see, we do this with a cloud profit optimization, where we use the VMware Cloud Health tool as a main platform to help us make those savings. What we typically do there is we look at cost assessments, making sure we have optimization recommendations regarding purchasing and licensing options from the different clouds that you use, whether you go for AWS or for Azure. It's really a complex world, so some automated advice on how you can optimize from what you already have, or where you could change your subscriptions models to make more savings, is really a big plus, and that's something that we can provide you by our services based on Cloud Health, to give you the users reporting, always a hot real-time view on your actual consumption, and then some recommendations on how to automate and automatically change things when required. So what do you typically get out of this when you do this in FinOps transformation from CCoE? Most of the customers from Cloud Health really see benefits up to 25% on their consumption. So it's really worthwhile considering this as a main transformation area in your cloud adoption roadmap.
Could I just briefly drop in with a quick question? Probably a silly one, but that quote, which I think is very, very useful, made me think about, are there any possible cash flow issues that a CFO should, or a financial team should think about? Have you known about that, where all of a sudden there's peak usage with this huge success for a certain application, maybe a B2C or a startup, and the bills are coming in, but there's no profit generation? Are there any best practices around that, or is that just a non-issue?
No, I think that's really an area of concern. That's something that you have to keep under control. That's where these reporting automation come in place to make sure that you have visibility on that. And it's also something that to consider on a longer term to accommodate for it. Peaks is one thing that usually is linked to some activity and it could be more or less predicted. However, if you just go for your normal project business and there's more like an organic growth in the model, if you don't adjust your internal finances, it could very well be that the complete shift to OPEX and consumption-based models starts consuming all your budgets the years following, because you move away from the traditional CapEx investment. So you really have to talk this through with your CFO department to make sure that the result of cloud is not that after 2-3 years, the IT department is left without really any transformation budget, because everything is running on the consumption-based subscriptions from cloud. So that's really a very good topic, very good point. This is clearly something there that you should address here.
I can add as well, Hans. So for CFO, you have those different clouds like Azure, AWS, etc. And every cloud have their different definition. So when they get the bill, sometimes they don't understand what's all about, because it's same features but different names. So Cloud Health do correlate those and give, in fact, the CFO the right picture of the cost and how much overcosting, how much things you are using more than you need. So technically, the tool, as Hans mentioned, with Cloud Health, it gives the CAO a broader and more clear picture about the cost. Thanks, Hans.
Okay, thanks, Marwan. Let's move on. The next big transformation area that the CCoE typically focuses on is the SecOps transformation. This might be an open door for many, but still it's for many customers a challenge to work on. Because with public cloud, of course, you have now the public cloud provider or the cloud service provider that is taking control of the infrastructure layer. So he needs to also take care of the protection of your cloud infrastructure, and that really puts in question a lot of the security controls that you had in place previously in your organization, and make sure that they're adopted for this new way of working, and really shift the focus of your protection and your responsibility in your organization to the top layer, where you have to protect your customers' data in the cloud, because that's of course still the responsibility of each enterprise, and should not be overlooked. This is not something that will be done by your cloud provider. So very important to make sure everything is put in place for network security, for the identity and access management, but also data encryption, looking at what are your requirements for encryption in flight, at rest, or even in memory in some cases. Very important to make sure that the policies are adopted and made cloud ready, and also that you have your policies in place for the OS and the platform in cloud, because there again you get the flexibility from cloud, but also the reduced freedom and span of control of what your OS and platform layer looks like. So you have to make sure that you have all your policies in place in this new context as well. So it's really important to understand how your posture looks like from a security point of view in cloud. What do you have? What do you want to have? And what's the evolution you want to make with your organization in cloud going forward, and make sure you have your security strategy linked to that. Also understand, and that's linked to the awareness of the people. Make sure you're aware of your risk as an organization, but also as an employee. What are the risks that you have And then a very important topic as well to decide upon is how much do you want to focus on having all these standards, security, transformation, cloud agnostic or platform specific. I think there it really depends on what your organization is looking at. Do you want to have a preferred public cloud platform? Then make sure that you first focus on having your cloud native security controls in place. And maybe afterwards look at cloud agnostic security controls and outcomes. Even on the other hand, you really have a strategy to immediately start multiple clouds and have focused mainly on scalability and cloud native development. Then again, this has an impact on the security controls and processes you have to put in place. I think this is a very broad and interesting topic. Again, I can recommend highly the session on Friday, where we will dive into more detail on the cloud security journey. Session also hosted by VMware and Fujitsu.
They're all kind of keen on having their own session, right? They're deep dives in itself. But I have just a brief question. We're sort of a little bit out of time, but on the SecOps element, what do you recommend to companies to have as a skill set available from a legal point of view then? Because you're pretty much positioning it here as a sort of from a tech point of view, security, et cetera, it all makes sense. But again, in your holistic approach, I could see some companies struggling with that from a legal skill point of view.
Yes, I think it's again a good question, Gary. As we start off describing what kind of resource you need in the Cloud Center of Excellence. Can be a small team, it can be 3 or 5 people, but you do need to have these security capabilities and also especially the enterprise architecture capabilities to be able to really make the bridge between not only the IT in the business world, but also the IT in the, let's say, corporate supporting functions world. You have to have the capability to link with legal. You have to link with finance. And from a legal point of view, it's especially also important to look at your contractual way of working. How do you make negotiations with vendors? What are the expectations that you have with solution that you buy or build in the cloud? That's really something that legal also has to look at, because in there as well, the decade-long templates that you might have from legal for IT will probably not be applicable anymore one-to-one if you really go for a full cloud approach. So that's really also important, and also make sure that you get insurance against risks that are out there in public clouds. You can perfectly insure yourself against risks from cloud. So that's also something that you should discuss with legal. Okay, I think we are ending the end of our slot, and that's very good because I only have 1 slide left. So let's dive into the last big transformation area. That's the BaseOps service transformation. So that's really talking about building your hybrid cloud landing zone to make sure that your platform teams have a platform that is ready to support all the changes we discussed in the previous areas. So we talked about DevOps. That's looking at how you develop your applications here. You see the plan, build, deliver become much more agile, resulting in small multidisciplinary teams that are driven in a DevOps fashion. You, of course, include your security in there because they need to be part of it as well. But it also means that from your platform team layer, you need to be able to support all that. So there's a huge need there for self-service platforms, high levels of automation, exposure to API interfaces, and infrastructure as code approach to cloud deployment and infrastructure deployment. So that's really a very important track as well, where we typically see also customers struggling a bit. So this is what we see most as the brownfield environment. Usually cloud is like a mushroom situation. It pops up in the organization here and there. And very often the platform teams, the infra and the ops guys are not always in the leading role there. So they have to catch up, and that's what we very often see. And so there's an area where we really have to focus on the change in adoption management to make sure that for the platform teams, we both have tooling in place, but also the new mindset in place to work with these self-service platforms and to think in a service way, in an infrastructure as code way about their infrastructure rather than just building different solutions. And that also automatically comes from moving from traditional infrastructure to EA services, but also containers, which are very good fit for DevOps pipelines, and of course PaaS platforms. Not forget also the integration needs that would come if companies start adopting SaaS solutions in the landscape. As Marwan said, outcome of the application portfolio assessment is very often that applications can be replaced by common off-the-shelf SaaS solutions. But of course, that as well for the infra team means that they need to put in place integration layers to indicate to them to make sure data can be efficiently exchanged between the SaaS solutions and the hybrid cloud landing zone. So all new skill sets, all new capabilities that are required for those teams, which require really a transformation approach end-to-end to make sure, again, we deliver on the expectations and the promises of cloud to have much more flexibility, much more scalability, drive innovation, and give a more agile feel from your infrastructure platforms. And if this all goes well, what you typically see is that this is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If this is working well, then you don't have to convince your customers to consume the services from your own platform teams. They will come themselves because everybody is very happy to use self-service platforms and don't have to care about all the complexities behind it, especially if you also take care of all the operational aspects, the security aspects, and the DevOps aspects. And that's the added value that your platform team can have and encounter the situation where you start creating shadow ITs, where your business starts going directly to public cloud. So this really brings everything together and makes sure your infra team is ready for the future.